This is empty. You don't need
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Follow-up to 2023's Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Thank God they changed the title and they didn't call this one Dead Reckoning Part 2. Thank God.
And to mention in my video for Dead Reckoning, I mentioned how that having Part 1 was too long of a title. And I said,
well, what is the point of doing the Part 1, Part 2? Yeah, I get that there's a continuation, but each film has had a continuation anyway. Call this one Dead Reckoning and be done with it, then call the next one a new title, a new subtitle.
What do you know? They did that.
They did. Knee-jerk response, fresh out of the theater.
Right.
You go first or me? It's up to you, partner.
I am interested to hear what you say about not Dead Reckoning. Mission Impossible 8 / The Final Reckoning.
So, I will tell you, I don't think I've ever seen a movie with this many close-ups on actors. Every other scene, boom, 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 boom. Yes. Action scenes I thought were phenomenal. I like how a chunk of the movie ended up being a submarine thriller. I love that. That was so fun. And I quite liked that little submarine crew that he gets in with. It kind of reminded me of one of them, that little rowdy crew from Aliens.
The Vasquez-esque chick. This is one of the problems with women these days in movies. They try to be too stoic and too masculine that they just come across one-dimensional. She was just so stone-faced that it came across as if she was so judgy the entire time towards Ethan Hunt, and it just didn't make sense. It didn't need to be that way. Maybe the closest that it came to them having some kind of dynamic was when she said, "Take care of my suit." Well, she didn't say it that way. It was more deadpan than that. And I whispered to you in the theater, I said, you know what's funny, dude, is that means he's wearing a woman's suit. What does that say about Tom Cruise's stature?
Well, she's buff.
Well, still a woman's suit. Cheers, by the way.
Dink. How'd you feel about some of the characters they brought back from the original one? Some of that callback. What do you think of that?
Right, so they bring back William Donlow from the first film.
Which was a really funny surprise. That was pretty funny.
I think it felt natural. It worked overall. It wasn't too heavy-handed. Although, in the third act with the bomb, that just random bomb that's in the caves, it was completely unrelated to the rest of the storyline and the plot. That bomb was there to facilitate that the caves were destroyed so that no one could upload or tamper with the AI. I just think that was there. That bomb was created more so to give William Donlow and his wife, and the actor's name is something Tarzan or something, all three of them to do something for the movie. And I think it was trying to juggle too many things with that. The crew was too populated at that point. They had too many people that McHugh needed to have do something, and it was too much. Because here's the thing, that plane sequence is the best sequence in the film. But it takes 2 hours to get to that. And when you're cutting back and forth to not just one subplot of them trying to defuse that bomb, but also Simon Pegg and Hayley Atwell dealing with the entity in a separate room, in the server room, I kept thinking, no, don't cut away. Go back to the plane sequence. It's cutting away too much, and I wanted to stay in the plane sequence. It actually would keep the tension instead of them divvying it up. You're cross-cutting to 3 different storylines that are happening.
You know, I surprised myself with this movie, and the aspect is usually when I'm watching blockbusters like this, I can generally be pretty cynical. The movie very much had the gang's all together vibe. But for some reason with this one, I think being with you, really put me at ease. The fact that it was IMAX, I don't think, it might be the first movie I've actually properly seen in IMAX, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to tell you, I never go into these movies thinking, I hope this is realistic, I hope it makes sense. I want to see the circus. And I got the circus.
That's what it was. Those planes looked like they would be used for a circus air show of some kind.
Kick ass. And well, you know what went through my head when I saw one was bright yellow and the other bright red? I was like, what a genius color scheme for us as an audience. Man, it looked good with the African green backdrop and the bright red, bright yellows.
Yeah.
That's one of the best action scenes I've seen in a long time. I'm gonna be honest with you. That was incredible.
Yes.
That was a mic drop. That was a mic drop,
That's
dude.
the thing. I don't think there's going to be anyone who's going to criticize the action sequences of the movie.
It is.
You just can't.
It's so
The
fun.
commitment that Tom and his team do, and McHugh, and they brainstorm these ideas and action sequences are undeniably great, exceptional. No one else is doing that. And the thought that Tom Cruise could be replaced is absurd. And I don't think we're ever going to see another actor like that who does his own stunts, has the experience that he does when he's on his personal time. He is doing and learning all of these different skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
No one else is doing that. So undeniable. The action sequences are worth seeing this movie for.
Well, doing the action, and he's a sensational actor. I think Tom Cruise, I don't think he gets enough credit these days with how amazing of an actor he is. Luther's death, what do you think of that?
I thought it was not as strong as it was intended to be. Let's look at this for a second. They call back to Luther because he left a message on the poison pill that was going to weed out the entity from this source code hard drive at the end. And Ethan hears this message from him. I think that speech went on a little too long, a little too dramatic, and...
Or are you talking about Luther's speech before he died? Oh.
Well, the recorded message at the very end.
Oh, you thought that was too long? I thought it was a cute speech. I thought it was cool.
He's saying the same thing in a different way. It's similar to in Amazing Spider-Man when they have Uncle Ben say,
If you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things.
he basically says, with great power comes great responsibility in a different way. That's kind of what Luther was doing. He was just saying things in a different way, and it was just extended out.
Our lives are the sum of our choices. This was your calling, your destiny. I have no regrets, neither should you.
That's really the main criticism that I have of this film, is that it's overly and unnecessarily long and convoluted where it didn't need to be. If this movie was more streamlined of don't complicate the plot so much with these not even reversals, but just add-ons to the rules of the situation with the entity and what the government is gonna do with the missiles and cutting back to that. Dude, it's not even 3 storylines that we're cutting back and forth to in the third act, it's 4, because we cut to the government offices with Madam President. So it's 4. 3 subplots, but 4 collectively that we're cutting back and forth. So get me back to the plain action sequence. You don't need any of that Madam President storyline. You could have taken all of that out. It's just you keep it in the field. Every other movie has mostly kept it in the field of the action and not cut to governmental offices and agencies. That stuff, I'm sorry, is boring. You don't need it. You just don't. I know that they had it in there to convey the epicness of the situation and the gravity, but all it does is lengthen the runtime and slow down the film where you have to cut back and forth to different storylines.
That's gonna make the fucking difference between winning and losing!
That's a symptom of the convoluted nature of the way the script was made. And as we know, the way that McHugh and company make these movies is that they're writing them almost on the fly.
They are, literally.
Right?
Yeah.
They hedged their bets for this one, and it didn't pay off as well as they did with the previous ones, particularly Fallout. That movie is frickin' fantastic. It is one of the best mission movies.
One of the best action movies ever made.
Fair to say so. And the way that I categorize the best mission movies, the first one, the third, the fourth, and the sixth. 1 and 6 might be the best. The thing that gives me pause about the other 2, 3, and 4, you have the Burj Khalifa scene. To me, it might be the best action sequence in
Which one?
The tallest building.
Oh,
where he climbs up.
It's bloody good.
Right, amazing.
Bloody good.
He did that to prove himself because his career was slightly slumping because of the Scientology crap that he did. And his past few films before that were not doing so well. The rumors that he was going to be replaced by Jeremy Renner and they were writing the movie as they were going on, that's when they brought on Christopher McQuarrie to write on the spot and fix the film. Tom knew that he needed to show the studio and the audience that I am totally in this. I am game and I am not leaving. This is why I am top dog. And many sequels followed after that. And the third is Ethan getting married. And you have this back and forth of more of a conflict that's way more personal with Julia getting kidnapped. And they're higher stakes, more personal stakes. That's what makes that movie stand out for me. And you also have Philip Seymour Hoffman as the best villain.
Well, you know, he had just got all that critical acclaim and all the buzz. Tom Cruise is great about picking out, like, all right, who's hot. But I remember being younger because I was a huge fan of that series. And I remember hearing that number 4 was in the work. And I just remember being like, really? They're coming out the 4th one. Okay.
What the hell are they going to do with this?
Dude, and then I remember it blew everybody away how good the 4th one was. It blew everyone.
And it was more fun.
What the heck? And also, too, we've discussed this before. They made it more team-centric. Once they made it more team-centric, then the movies really popped off.
Yeah.
They really did.
Yeah.
Because like I said, as much as I love Mission Impossible 3, that bridge scene, as amazing as it's it's pretty freaking funny watching it now because he has his whole team and the moment shit hits the fan, Tom Cruise is literally the only one actually doing stuff in the scene. And it's like really funny. His like very talented team all of a sudden just disappears and then he's the one that's jumping across the thing. And I love the shot of hitting the car. They used that was the big shot in the trailer. I remember everyone being like, I gotta go see that, yeah.
Yes. So back to Final Reckoning.
Final Reckoning.
So this is possibly the last one.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
It might be because it needs to go away to make room for Tom to make other movies. I want to see him stretch his muscles again like he used to.
But he has to keep his shag though for the Inarritu film.
Okay. I didn't think you were going to bring it up, but
I brought it up
did.
in the theater. There's this scene where he literally is like, he's having this like, it's like a really good, strong scene and he's talking, but
he rips his mask off.
But his freaking shag looks so goofy. And so he's supposed to be doing this serious scene and it almost looks like a wig. And I remember looking at it and I just turned to Kyle, was like, his hair looks bad. And Kyle was like, it looks dumb, dude. It looks dumb.
I think I'm pretty sure I said it's fucking terrible is what I said.
I think I just remember you saying it's dumb and I probably could have gotten us in trouble because I started dying laughing.
Right.
And then the chick's, ooh, I like the long hair. And
Hayley
I look at
Atwell
Kyle
says that,
and
yeah.
Kyle's literally, it's pretty funny.
It's terrible.
But I still love you, Tom. I still love you, Tom Cruise.
Of course, this is mostly a superficial thing, but yet it's something he has to wear throughout the entirety of the movie. It is just not fitting. It is the worst.
He's too old for it.
It is the worst hairstyle that he has had in any movie. You know, even going back to Color of Money, he's old enough where his hair does not sit and is not as healthy as it used to be. Go back to Mission Impossible 2.
His hair is gorgeous in that
flowy
movie. And he's got his Beretta and he's in slow motion. He's and his hair's blowing in the wind with his freaking sunglasses.
He looks like he conditioned that hair every day. I think he's trying to bring that back or trying to harken back to it, and it just doesn't work. It might be because he's an older man and his hair is a little more brittle. I mean, that's what happens when you get older. Your hair is not going to grow the same as it was when you were in your youth. Look, this is what I wished they would have done with his hair. All right? Bring it back. Do full circle. It's in the same line of intention as what they've done with bringing back some characters from the first film. Make his hair very similar or the same as he had in the first film. So basically, okay, I model my hair after Tom Cruise's haircut in the first Mission Impossible.
You do?
His hair,
Nice.
Tom's hair in the first Mission, and Ed Sloan from Crossfade. It's a band. Those two individuals are where I base my hair.
I can see that.
off of.
I love your hair.
Okay, so I wish that he would have brought that back. He had a similar haircut in Mission 3, okay? I wish that they would have brought that back. He kind of had that in the last film, in Dead Reckoning, but the difference was it looked like he was a senator. He had it combed down. It was too neat. It wasn't styled. It wasn't
in
style,
what
it was
the
just
pop
combed
culture.
down.
Have you noticed though, every other movie, he's got short hair, next one long hair, next one short hair. He's always done that. I think his intention with having longer hair for I-8 was to show that time had passed. That was his way, which to me is kind of a lazy
on a
way.
second.
It's lazy way to show that time has passed, especially when it's like shaggy like that. But do you know what I mean?
It stated in dialogue that it's only been 2 months.
Oh
It's
my
only
God.
been 2 months
Well,
since
still
the events of the last film. And
Would've
he
been-
just let his hair grow out like that. What the hell has he been doing? Is he sitting in a hotel in London just whacking off to Hayley Atwell? I don't know. It's
You know what would have been cool, dude, is if he like completely like buzzed it or went complete like badass bald for it.
circa Minority Report?
He would have looked cool though. They just kind of shake it up. You know what I think? If they come out with MI9, which they're going to, they should harken back and do it in the style of the very original. Let's bring it back down. I love the over-the-top shit, but let's bring it back down old school. Let's do something Brian De Palma, thriller-esque, kind of bend your brain, turn the story upside down kind of vibe. And there's a very dark vibe to the original one, like this manic vibe to it that none of the other ones really could truly replicate. Dude, the original one is very much like a time capsule. It's a different kind of movie.
Well, it's more of a cat and mouse movie.
Dude, the fact that it cracked $400, '96, that's awesome.
It
That's
only made $400?
made over 400 million.
That's staying in.
That's part of my brand. I say random shit. I'm loose lips
Well,
over here.
you made a mistake,
I did.
and we can have a laugh about it.
But you know what?
At your
People
expense.
watching, it's okay to make mistakes, even when you're sitting by a fire talking about movies for YouTube.
Hey, that's the first time that Ben has addressed the audience. I like this.
Oh, I did earlier. I don't remember what I was addressing.
But in previous videos, you really haven't.
Yeah.
Once in the Dragged Across Concrete one, you said
Horror and Western is just not something you see combined
sounds like
together.
you're saying horror western.
Horror Western. Well, that's what
Horror.
it is. Horror. My Texas ass.
oh, yeah.
I like that. That was a good one. Okay, so, all right.
Oh,
Megan's got an interjection.
I have a question for you, Ben, because I don't know if Kyle was able to answer it when we watched it for the first time. So, what is going on with Luther? How did he get sick?
Oh, that is a great question. I have no idea. That was so random to me that he just was dying of cancer or something. Because I just watched Dead Reckoning last night. It came from nowhere, but like I said, I don't watch those movies for the storyline. So I just was like, oh, Luther's sick. All right. Makes me sad. I love his character.
No, I don't think he was sick. The implication was that he had all of these hospital room instruments. I think he was on oxygen with the thing that goes in your nose because he was so overworked with making that magical USB stick.
Okay.
I think that's what they were implying. They don't say anything other than he's just working hard. That's it. They don't say he's sick.
Okay, because I was completely confused by that
That
too.
doesn't make any. Why would he need more oxygen?
It's a good question.
It makes no sense.
I don't know.
Why would he need oxygen? Okay, my problem with it and the whole Luther storyline is that he just sits. He moves around and then he sits. The previous movies, he was more menacing and a little bit scarier, but he just comes across as an old geezer now.
He was way more active, the most he was in Mission 2. When he was in that helicopter,
Punk just put a hole in my Farachi or my Shachi or what does he say?
Versace.
Versace. And then he gets the bazooka. He just whips it out of nowhere. He's like,
Yes, so there you go. So he is more active in that second one than he is in any other movie. He runs out of the van when there's a bomb underneath it, and he fucking goes. He's way more active in the second. I wish they had brought more of that back, but Ving Rhames is overweight, and he has been for the past few films. And I think he could have been more active in some kind of action and movement if he had gotten more in shape. But with someone being overweight, it can stress believability.
I think he's actually like a beautiful actor. I really enjoy his scenes. Man, I gotta tell you, it hit me right in the feels, his little speech and the way he did that scene as he was doing the bomb. I just remember being little and even liking, I'm like, oh, he's a cool character. You know, he joins Ethan and he's all that good stuff.
So that did work for you.
It did.
His final
it did.
scene where he's trying to defuse a bomb that Gabriel has planted. And again, it's contrived where the bomb is supposed to level the entirety of London, but he says he's able to diffuse it enough where all that would happen is that the tunnels that he's in are going to collapse and everyone else is going to be okay. So there you go again, where there are degrees within these scenarios that just seem contrived, and that kind of repeats multiple times in the movie. Yeah.
One more thing is, why on God's green earth would Tom Cruise leave Luther after he finished? Why would he then leave it with Luther?
There's a shot where they do a flashback to where Luther gives the poison pill, tries to give it to Ethan, and Ethan just says, no. You know, put it, you keep it. And he puts it in his shirt pocket, and it's like, well, what? Luther made that for you. Why did you just give it back to him? What? You see what I mean?
I don't watch these movies for the story. If I got really invested in the storyline, I would be so irritated right now. I have to turn that part of my brain off for this movie.
Come on, Ben.
But I do though. You know what I mean?
Come on. How is it that you can
I'm
have
like
the critical eye and appreciation for story when it comes to Godfather? We will get to the third. When it comes to the Godfather series, but then when it comes to Mission Impossible, especially with the first film was very plot-centric and about the story, and we love that film, and it's really well written. But why is it in the future sequels that now you got to turn your brain off?
because I go into those movies to be lazy and sit back and let everything just get spoon-fed to me. I'm just saying, it's like sometimes I want to, I can eat fine cuisine Mexican food, or I can just go buy Taco Bell, and if I go buy Taco Bell and they put all that processed crap flavor in it and it makes my taste buds happy and I feel like a little fat porky oink oink oink, then it did its job. I feel like these near mission movies do that.
Well, it seems as though that the action sequences hold you over. If they didn't have those action sequences, then you would have something to complain about.
I wouldn't even pay money to see those. If these movies didn't have these circus act sequences, I wouldn't watch these movies. I come to watch Tom Cruise run around and blow shit up and
be a daredevil,
yell and run for 20 minutes throughout the film's runtime.
Mm-hmm. I do as well, but I don't sacrifice story for the sake of those action sequences. You can have both. Why? Because they proved that they can in the previous ones.
Man, these last couple ones, Rogue Nation through this one, they really got cartoony. They just did.
Well, especially because of this entity thing.
Yeah.
Which I ultimately think, let's get into this for a second. The examination of the antagonist. Having two films, not just one, that the central antagonist is a disembodied, inhuman villain. For two films, and the only representation that we have was in Dead Reckoning as the acolyte Gabriel being the mouthpiece for the entity. But in this film, now that he's been abandoned by it because he failed at the end of Dead Reckoning, what doesn't make sense is that it's already been established that this entity is uncontrollable. So why would he think that he could control it? It's not this module of a computer that you can type in yada yada. This thing is universally powerful. So it doesn't make sense to me that Gabriel would be able to take control of the entity by whatever means, the poison pill and blah, 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 all these contrived devices, yada, yada, which could work, but if it wasn't too convoluted, I think they could have succeeded. There is a thing, and I'm gonna shout out to Matt at Hardcut. I talked to him about this movie, and he and I brainstormed. At first I said, if they had brought in somebody else to be the new representative of the entity, a human, a person, but you don't get rid of Gabriel, you make him a competitor for the entity. So you have two villains that are clashing in and amongst Ethan and team clashing with them. So you have more of a dynamism. The thing that Matt contributed is that he said, well, I was thinking that they were going to make Jim Phelps that other villain.
Well, for a second, I thought he was about to be the villain.
Right, and I said, what if you combine that idea and make Jim Phelps' son Jim the new acolyte of the entity, which would create a purpose for that character's existence and would create a full circle of Ethan now has to face off with the next generation from the generation that he faced off with and defeated in the first film. Now he has to deal with his son. But they don't do that here. It's just a couple interactions of, oh, you're mad at me for killing your traitor dad. And it's ambiguous as no, I'm not mad at you for that. I'm mad at you because you don't follow rules, Ethan. And it's ambiguous of whether or not he's gonna kill Ethan. At the end, he fakes him out by pulling a gun, but then takes his own gun and then holds out his hand. And not only that, they do this. Remember? They do this. Jim does this to Ethan, and then they do that. Most people laughed in the theater when it came to that
as
moment.
hell, but by that point, the movie was so silly. But silly in all the right ways. I'm not saying silly like I'm pretentious. It's just freaking silly, and I just got caught up in the silliness of it. Revisiting Dead Reckoning, they drew out way too many scenes. It did not need to be. I was sitting last night, and there was a few moments in my own home where I was just, dude, let's get the show on the road with this scene. And I think the same problem, and you already said it, is that same problem transitioned into this one as well. I think they could have made, what's the name of that AI thing? What do they call it? They could have made it creepier, and they could have given it this like really creepy voice and stuff. Do you know what the
And I'm pretty
editing-
sure, sorry to interrupt, but I'm pretty sure in the one sequence when Ethan is in an electronic coffin, by choice, he went in there for some reason, and the information that you glean from that is that he has 4 days to get the coordinates to the submarine, which is very strange. Why would the entity give him that information so that he would have a ticking time clock so that he could achieve his goal? Anyway, the voice of the entity, I'm pretty sure, we'd have to look this up. I think it's Christopher McQuarrie, the director doing the voice.
Really?
Yeah, but go on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the villain, he does a good job, but I think William Dafoe would have been way more fascinating in that part. William Dafoe.
It's not William, it's Willem.
Oh?
Yeah. Willem.
Wilhelm Dafoe.
No H.
Huh?
Just Willem.
Well, Wilsham Dafoe, now I'm just messing with you.
No, I know. I was just leave it in there.
I should have kept a straight face. No, but I feel like he would have been a cooler villain. I mean, don't get me wrong, this guy, or maybe just the way they edited his performance, they just never... See, the main villain from Solomon from 5 and 6, they really kept the frame on him and they really let him shine as a villain. They never let this poor guy shine as a villain. So I kind of feel like they wasted that actor just a little bit.
Well, here's the thing, dude, is Gabriel in the last film, Dead Reckoning, is measured. He's not crazy cackling, but in this one, he is. All of a sudden, in the third act, he becomes, "Come and get me, Ethan!" And he's in the plane, and he's like, "Ha ha ha ha!" And he's trying to kill Ethan in the other plane.
I call that
he becomes a cackling arch villain.
I call that a mustache twirling villain. He becomes a mustache twirling villain. Look, the audience had an energy that I really enjoyed. Sometimes I'm very much the type of person, I feed off of who I'm with and the audience I'm with. I really value regular audience members. I really do. If that makes sense what I'm saying.
I gotta say though, audience reactions are just a nice addition to your viewing experience. It doesn't change the way that I feel about a movie.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I was able to embrace the silliness. The movie did its job for me. I really liked the submarine parts, man. I thought that was pretty cool. His escape in that submarine, it's one of the silliest things I've ever seen. Him getting in the Arctic water like that and taking off all of his stuff and him swimming. His brain would have exploded, wouldn't
He
it?
would have frozen to death. He wouldn't have been able to climb that 500 feet up.
Well, let alone being that deep underwater.
Swim up.
He would have exploded in the water, bro. His brains would have been like from the water pressure.
There you go.
Herbert announced an attempt to reach 214 meters, 31 meters deeper than his previous record.
So I think the movie would have gone better if they had streamlined the plot, cut out 20 to 30 minutes within the first hour. It would have worked so much better, and we would have seen a fairly worthy last entry. I think it is the last entry for Tom because he has other things to do, let's face it. And the unfortunate thing to add is I do think it's the weakest Mission movie, collectively as a movie.
Oh, so you don't even think it was good as Dead Reckoning?
No, Dead Reckoning is better.
Think Dead Reckoning is better?
That Rome chase sequence, the dynamic between Hayley Atwell and
that was a great chase
just
scene.
Fantastic. So yeah, the last movie is better than this one. I even think the second one is better and more fun and even more streamlined and straightforward and has more competency with its script. I think that Final Reckoning is the weakest of the franchise. I didn't think about that after seeing it until way later, that, wow, yeah, when I think back on it, the rest of the other films are stronger than this one. Not to say that the action sequences are less than, because if you ask me that, the second one doesn't have as good of action sequences as Final Reckoning. But I'm just talking about the totality of a movie. That's what I mean.
The storyline's focused in the second one.
Yes.
As goofy as it is,
Yes.
it's very focused.
Mm-hmm. You were going to say something about Hayley Atwell.
Do I think she's drop dead stunning? Yes. Do I think she's charismatic? Yes. Do I think she fits in the universe? Yes. Do I think she has good chemistry with Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise? Absolutely. I feel like, though, his dynamic with her, we literally just saw the same damn dynamic with Rebecca Ferguson. You know what I'm saying? To me, it was literally Rebecca Ferguson 2.0. So don't get me wrong, she's good and nothing against that actress. So what we have, I enjoyed. I thought they're hot together, whatever.
I think Hayley Atwell
But-
is an improvement over Rebecca Ferguson.
Well,
I'm
I
an
think-
outlier when it
I
comes to
think
that.
they're
Most
both
people
hot. I think they're both
like
cool.
if Rebecca Ferguson, they prefer her.
They're
I'm
both
sorry.
hot.
And there are numerous scenes in this movie where I could see her playing Laura Croft. But yeah, I think she excels in that character and she's a standout and I think she's underrated. I said in my video for Dead Reckoning that she should have gotten an Oscar nomination. She could have gotten an Oscar because she's such a standout in the last film.
No, listen, she does a great job. I just didn't think it was very interesting. You know, Ethan Hunt's got romance with Homegirl and then Homegirl gets killed off and then they immediately bring in new Homegirl and it's like this exact same dynamic. You never exactly see them kiss, but they clearly have romantic feelings for each other.
Which they should have. When they're in
You
the
know.
pressure chamber, they should have made out in that sequence.
Oh, I thought it was cute though, them just gently touching each other's face. You know, it was cute, you know.
Oh, hey,
My-
look at this.
Break.
Hot dog break, yay, thank you so
you.
much.
Welcome. It's not gonna be as hot, unfortunately.
You want to come in and say hi?
Hello.
Yeah.
Got a nice Cupid shot.
There you go.
It's my sister from another mister. This is delicious. My favorite Hunt girl.
Yeah.
I always thought Phelps' wife from the original one was like kind of hot, and it's kind of an interesting dynamic. I always thought Michelle Mulligan, I thought she was really strong, especially in Mission Impossible 3.
I'm going to rectify certain inequities.
It's Monahan.
When she saves, that sequence where she saves Hunt at the end of part 3, I always thought that was a pretty awesome scene. Though how funny is it they made reference to the rabbit's foot? They explained the rabbit's foot. I always thought that was a strength of the third one, that they didn't explain it. They subtly explained it without explaining it.
Well, the thing that doesn't connect well to the third, even though they tried to make the rabbit's foot the origin for the entity, is because the canister that Ethan steals has biohazard on it. That doesn't hold up when even though Macquarie tried to explain that away in dialogue, that even though it had biohazard on it, it was a bioelectronic evil thing. I like that they tried to connect it to the entity, but the way that they could have done that was to explain that maybe that biohazard was the power source for the creation of the entity. It's a step toward the entity, but not that it held the entity. So I think there are huge problems, more so than any other film in this franchise, in the writing.
It's better than most action blockbusters, dude.
Well, because the action
That's what's
sequences are
funny.
so excellent. Well, we can wrap it up when it comes to MI8. You would recommend it for people to see it.
absolutely.
So would I, with huge reservations of realizing that you're going to have to wait an hour to get to the submarine sequence, which is the first sequence that really is worth watching, and then 2 hours collectively to get to the mano-a-mano plane sequence. And that's the highlight of the movie. That's the showcase. I mean, it's the poster of the movie.
Hey, listen, you know what the pacing reminded me of quite a bit? It reminded me of Oppenheimer. I feel like they paced it like Oppenheimer. They're covering a lot, and it's very like boom, 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 boom. I think Tom Cruise was inspired by Oppenheimer, or Macquarie. I do. Even the whole sequence when he puts the mask on his face, it kind of reminded me of Oppenheimer just a little bit.
To me, that's not a compliment because Oppenheimer was too long. So that attribution is the same note that I give to both Oppenheimer and Final Reckoning. Yeah, so Ben recommends it, I recommend it, but with specific nuances to why we would recommend it. So all around, it was worth it.
It's
No,
a
was
good time. It's a good time.
You and I going to the movies.
The film did its job. At the end of the day, the film did its job.
Yeah.
And a lot of movies can't say the same thing, you know?
Yeah. So
good for Tom Cruise and good for him for having yet another career resurgence.
Yeah. So check out what other video pops up after this. All right. Getting straight into it since I don't do introductions. I don't know if the mic is going to pick that up, but he just farted. That'll go in the outtakes. Right, I can just see it right now. It's at the end after the whole discussion. This is empty. You don't need this.
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.